Saint Eugene, the founder of the Oblates and Bishop of Marseille in France, is closely connected with the beginnings of the church in southern Africa. Around the year 1840, the bishops of Cape Town and the Bishop of Port Elizabeth realized that they were unable to start mission work in this region because they had so few priests, and whatever priests they had, they were busy with a few of the colonials in the two cities. So they approached Rome and asked for a community who could undertake this task of starting mission work in this area. And when Saint Eugene was asked, he energetically committed himself to this project. And the bishops of Cape Town and Port Elizabeth had suggested that Pietermaritzburg could be a useful place to start from, because Pietermaritzburg had just been started as a city in those days, and the bishops had heard that there were quite a number of Catholics there who could at the same time help to finance the mission. So in 1852, the first oblates arrived there and began to explore how to start. Financially, it was a bit difficult because most of the Catholic families who were here had run into difficulties and they went in search for better places. Nevertheless, the community was able to start and try and see what could be done to start mission work here. The area was vast, from the dioceses of Cape Town and Port Elizabeth to the south, to the north, wherever there were people, they were told, wherever there are people in the north, you can take care of them. And of course, excluding the territories of Mozambique, which were under the authority of the Portuguese, as well as Mozambique. So the area was quite extended. Father Joseph Gerard was to become the great pioneer. I think you have a picture of him there. He became the great pioneer to start this difficult project. And over the years, more and more communities would come and share in this mission project. And first among those were the Trappists of Marion Hill, who came some 30 years later in 1882. Now, St. Eugene's project was originally concerned only with his home area in France, with the Provence. And the Oblates were in those days known as the missionaries of the Provence. And his aim from the beginning could be summarized in 3 points: the renewal of the church, the renewal of the ministry, and the outreach to the most abandoned. For St. Eugene, the church should be, especially through her ministers, should be good news, and especially for those on the margins of society. The first point, the renewal of the church. Now, after the French Revolution, the church was in chaos, and many of its buildings were destroyed or taken for other purposes. So in the preface of his rule for the Oblates, St. Eugene wrote these words: "The Church, that glorious inheritance purchased by Christ at the cost of his blood, has in our days been cruelly ravaged." St. Eugene was deeply committed to the Church. The second, the renewal of the ministry. The preface of the rule for the Oblates continues: "Faced with such a deplorable situation, the Church earnestly appeals to the ministers to do all in their power, by word and by example, to commit themselves to the renewal of the Church." Alas, he continues, few heed their mother's urgent plea. Indeed, many even aggravate their things by their own disgraceful conduct. And instead of trying to lead people back to the ways of justice, they themselves most often need to be reminded of their own duties. And thirdly, reaching out to the most abandoned. St. Eugene was inspired by the verse from the Gospel which we read, the text from Isaiah, to preach the good news to the poor. To preach the good news to the poor. And he first understood this as referring in his own context to the marginalized and the neglected in France, the servants, the prisoners, and all the people belonging to the lower classes, who were often neglected by the ministry of the Church. But confronted with requests like coming to South Africa, he understood it also as referring to peoples who did not yet know Christ. For him, the poor were those who do not yet know Christ, and Christ crucified. And in this spirit, he accepted the challenge of moving out beyond his own narrow circle of the Provence, first to Canada, to the missions which had been abandoned when the Jesuit order was suppressed, then to Ceylon, present-day Sri Lanka, and finally in 1852 to Southern Africa. On this feast day, St. Eugene constantly and impatiently keeps confronting us with these three challenges: the renewal of the Church, the renewal of ministry, and the outreach to the most abandoned, so that we may be indeed good news.